BlackRock has purchased over $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. 1 billion, and not in total. That's just this week. This week alone, they purchased $1 billion. Okay, now, I know the argument, well, it's not BlackRock doing it, it's the institutional investors, right? Yeah, of course. A lot of it is just the institutional investors and retail investors buying in, but you know they are too. That's why there's never any outflows. There's only inflows, never outflows. So Larry Fink wants world domination through Bitcoin, okay? That's what's happening. So yesterday, if you look at the tally, we had a net inflow of 84 million. Grayscale continues to sell. Yesterday, Grayscale sold 22.5 million, but it does not matter. BlackRock took in 100 million. I mean, this last week alone, just crazy, crazy numbers. 102 million, 110 million, 260 million, 170 million, 120 million. Just keeps on going. $1 billion worth of Bitcoin bought by one single ETF, and others, if you add it together, probably another billion, right? That's probably like close to 2 billion. And that's just going to increase. The numbers are going to only go higher from here on out. So what is this historic indicator? Well, there are many. There are many that are showing that Bitcoin is ready for a huge move, a historic move, you could argue. Okay? That will point us to 190,000, which is actually very conservative. So many other predictions show that we're going to end up anywhere from $200,000 to $300,000. So actually, 190,000 price prediction for next year is actually super, super conservative versus some of the other predictions out there. Now, why? Why are we going to go up there? Well, Bollinger Bands. Bollinger Bands. So if you're looking at how tight the Bollinger Bands are, the bandwidth is as low as it's ever been in history. We saw this one time in 2015. Yeah, 2015. And then one time in the bottom of 2023, and now we're seeing it once again. Okay, so to put things into perspective, Bitcoin in 2015, that's when it fell down to $160. $160. That's the last time we saw the bandwidth this narrow for Bollinger Bands. And then we saw it in the bottom of 2023 when Bitcoin fell to 16,000. And now we're seeing the same thing happen in 2024, but the difference is Bitcoin is at $64,000, $65,000. So again, we haven't seen this since Bitcoin was at $160 and Bitcoin was at $15,000. Now we're seeing it at $65,000. So obviously much higher in price, but the performance that comes afterwards could be similar, could be very similar. Maybe not tens of thousands of percents now, maybe not even thousands of percent, but just a few 100% that could follow this will send Bitcoin towards 190,000 and beyond, right? And this is what it's looking like in terms of that squeeze that's happening and the bandwidth. So that's looking pretty darn good. And this is something that I've been talking about, right? I've been saying all week that I think something's brewing that's going to drive us to a new high by next week, ahead of the Bitcoin conference, or maybe during the Bitcoin conference, right? And we got ETH spot ETF coming up next week too. But this also kind of shows you something else is going on, or something similar is going on, or this is all related. This Wyckoff re-accumulation, which is just a way for big boys in Wall Street to drive out retail investors so they can buy in and pump up the price, okay? And that's exactly, I mean, this has been ongoing for many, 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 many months. But you notice spring, that's what we just recently went through, right? That is the bottom of Wyckoff reaccumulation. That is when the retail investors finally get scared out from this pattern. If you look at this pattern, it is identical. The way Bitcoin moved, the way that we had just had that little drop, which was lower than the previous drop that we had, And now we are going back up. So if we're following this, we're going straight back up, right? Not only to 73,000, but beyond that. So between now and next week, this could be happening right in front of our eyes, right in front of our eyes, right? I think something's happening. And today, this weekend, next week, leading up to the conference, which starts on Wednesday or Thursday, I think we're going to see some tremendous, tremendous movements. If you want to comment on anything I've said in this video, make sure you head over to the Roundtable. The Roundtable is a new social media platform created for conversations. And best of all, it's spam-free, bot-free, unlike here on YouTube. And you could have conversations with me and others like Altcoin Daily, Scott Melker, Mauro Nafal, and many others are joining daily. And you also get rewarded in tokens for doing so. So check out the new Roundtable. Click the link in the description below. Now, here's a long-term look. You know, our current movement versus previous cycles. Again, they all look similar. They all look similar. They all move like, you know, pretty much the same way. You know, so that's why when I say, when in doubt, zoom out. When you're fearful, zoom out. You look at what has happened before, and, you know, it's all the same. It's all the same. We move according to the same patterns every single time. It's not identical, but very, very similar in nature. So it's no different this time. We're nowhere close to peak. And that peak can be 190,000 or it could be 300,000. What no one knows, but what I do know is that peak is going to result in Bitcoin being at a higher price than where it is now. Significantly higher price than where it is now. So that's the most important thing, right? And we're not too far off from peak. We're about a year, maybe a year and a half. Maybe this goes on until the end of 2025. But come on. That's why when last week, when the fear level was as low as it was, I mean, it was just silly. It's just absolute silliness. But this is what we have to look forward to. Outside of Bitcoin, you know what? People are also loading up on ETH. So this is the ETH reserve or ETH balance on the exchanges. And you notice that since June, it's been dropping and dropping and dropping and dropping. That's because people are getting ready for the ETH ETF. All right. ETH ETF is coming on Tuesday. So that could be a fantastic, fantastic catalyst. Or it's not a catalyst. Bitcoin goes higher, but like the market, if the market's blowing up next week, ETH ETFs will debut with enormous volumes, right? So that could be happening. So that's why people are loading up. People are waiting. Mike Novogratz, Galaxy Digital, buys almost all of crypto manufacturers' Ethereum assets to expand staking. And I don't have a chart, but a ton of people are also staking. I think it's like 30-something% of all ETH now is staked. Because a lot of people, once they buy it, you know, they're like, I might as well stake it, right? So again, a lot of people are buying off the exchanges or buying on the exchanges and removing off the exchanges. And then a lot of them are staking it, which is absolutely fantastic. And all of this is resulting in less and less supply being circulated.